I have an entrepreneur mindset. So every time I see something, I turn it into a business, or how could it be a business? That's just how I am. So I have interest and passion in a lot of different things. But as far as a vehicle to, do good for the community, build wealth, and just scale.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Welcome back to another episode of Weiss Advice. I am your host, Yonah Weiss. I am really excited to be here today with Denise O'Reilly. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, Yonah. Thanks for having me.
Great. Yeah, I'm very grateful for you to be joining me on this wonderful day. Tell us, our listeners, a little bit about who is Denise and how did you get started in this crazy thing called real estate?
I got started in real estate quite a long time ago. I'd say I've been in real estate for about 20 years now. And I was an agent, like a realtor, and I did acquisition, sales, property management. And then I started investing as well, more in the single family rentals, fix and flips, that type of thing. But then I realized that that wasn't scalable, and I obsessively sought out some other avenue of real estate investing. So I came across multifamily probably 2019-ish, and I've never looked back. It's been something that I've pursued aggressively since. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, my real estate journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fascinating that you've kind of really been in the business. Sounds like almost your entire career.
Well, I was in another industry prior. I worked in the film business before that for a little while. But
film, you said?
Yeah. Film and television, post-production.
Oh, cool. Okay. Very cool. Well, I mean, listen, real estate is such a huge, huge market, and there's a lot going on there. And the fact that you worked as a realtor, and then I know you worked in assisted living, and I think that you have something to do with that now as well. But there's so many opportunities within that. But how did you you mentioned like 2019, you kind of got involved in looking for something more multifamily. Like, how did you get introduced to that? Or did you have a friend or came across something? Like, where did that path come from?
It was an obsession that I had, and I very much consumed every real estate investing podcast out there.
Okay.
Especially Bigger Pockets. And, I was really in hot pursuit of a strategy that would resonate with me. And when I came across, I was listening to this one podcast one day, I think it was Monique Hom, and she was also from LA, and she was also a small time investor. I think she invested in like a single family or a duplex, and she was trying to figure out how to scale. And I think she met Robert Helms of the Real Estate Radio guys, and he planted in her head the whole idea of, why don't you, like, if you're going to do a single investment, why don't you just go for something big, like scale, like 80, 100 units, and live where you want to live, invest where it makes sense. So that was very eye-opening to me, and it completely resonated. And so then that led me to just seeking out a mentor in the space, because it seemed like the answer, and it seemed like the path that was right for me. And everything just kind of fell into place from then. I found a mentor. I really learned the business. I, spent money to go to seminars and just educate myself. So that's the path that kind of started me in that direction.
Wow. Okay. So it started with podcast, and then that's pretty fascinating. Kind of just one podcast episode really just resonated with you and gave you that kind of fire under you to actually go and pursue it. That's pretty cool, because oftentimes we listen to things and we consume information, but it's like something has to, jump out at you and kind of give you that bite to take action. And a lot of people don't take action, right? How is it for you? Like, where were you at that stage in your life? And, family, obviously you were in a career, you were doing other things. Did you have the freedom or ability to do that? Or, was it challenging?
I did at the time because you had mentioned I'm in assisted living. So I was already on that path and I was working on that business, and I had a lot of travel time because our first assisted living property was like 400 miles away in Northern California. So I traveled a lot. And on those travels, I would always listen to these podcasts and whatnot. And I had already kind of stepped away from the whole like buying and selling real estate. And I really very much had control of my time and schedule already. So it was kind of perfect timing because I was able to, once I found that niche, I was really able to just go for it. And I ended up selecting more the Texas market because it just resonated. It was better for us and what we wanted to do, and just, being landlord friendly, business friendly, all the economic drivers. So
Right.
that was the location that we wanted to be in. And we found a mentor that was primarily based out of that area. So I kind of dragged my husband along at the time. I'm like, hey, because he knew I was crazy about like trying to figure out our path, real estate investing. And he had been working on Wall Street. He had been a trader for 23 years. And he also was thinking about an exit, but wasn't quite sure. So I was trying to drive the bus and figure something out for us. So at the time, he wasn't quite ready. He was really involved in his career, but I dragged him. I said, hey, I signed up for this seminar. You're going to come. And just so you know, just come with an open mind. So he was like, okay, no problem. But on the plane ride over, he was like, just so you know, we're not signing up for anything. I'm like, all right. But I already knew in my head, I'm like, we're doing this. So we get there, and it's so funny. Right when we get there, we're sitting in a seminar, the lights go dark, there's this video, and it's this snowboarder. His name is Dan Breezy, and he's big in the space now. He's a really well-known real estate investor in multifamily at this point. But he was like an X Games gold medal champion, and there was this crazy video of him just jumping off of tall buildings and like doing these crazy, crazy things. And my husband and I, we met snowboarding. So that was like, that's a mutual passion of ours.
That's so cool.
So like, when he saw that, that was kind of like, it softened him up, and he was like, our people. So that was really cool. So that was the first thing that we saw. And then as the speaker just kept on talking about multifamily and the benefits and all the amazing things and how you can scale and you can partner and get into 100-unit buildings, that was like mind blowing. And I think like it was like maybe half an hour. He's like, we are signing up for this.
Oh, wow.
He was sold, and that was it. The rest is history.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, you were able to then partner together with your husband and work on business together in the investment. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not like people should know. It's not a get rich quick scheme, right?
Sure.
Something that you have to really, really dig in and learn the nuts and bolts. And you have to, it's a long-term game. So
yeah,
we couldn't just like stop what we were doing and jump in because it was amazing. So what we did is we learned, we studied everything that we could to get to a certain mastery of how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
We jumped into deals right away, pretty much within the first couple of months. I think we were LPs in 4 different deals because we figured that was probably the best way to learn, to actually be in a deal and see how the GPs operate the deal, learn about asset management, all the things. So that's what we did. We started that way. And then we eventually became KPs on deals. And then now we GP and we're co-sponsors on deals.
Very cool. And is the focus, I know you said multifamily, but also assisted living facilities?
Yeah, definitely. So we've evolved and we've figured out a way to kind of merge our worlds. Assisted living is something that's been in my life since I was a little girl because my parents were pioneers in that space.
Oh, really?
In the 80s. Yeah. They were I didn't realize it, but they're real estate investors and entrepreneurs. And they had a number of residential assisted living facilities when I was growing up. And that was my first experience. My first jobs were in residential assisted living. So there's a long history there. But for myself, I needed to really figure out my own path. I was very much a creative. I love photography. I love film. And I wanted nothing to do with that business. I'm like, that's your business. I'm going to do this. And so I did. I pursued it. I went to college, like film school, and that was my first career. And I loved it. And I was, I needed to really become independent and pursue my passions. And that was my passion at the time.
Right.
So I was able to do that. And one thing led to another. I realized, my entrepreneurial spirit, I think that's born in you. Like, I don't think that that's a learned thing. So I knew that was a job. It was very demanding. And then I also saw the writing on the wall. I was in my 20s and I knew I wanted a family. And I saw all my colleagues, they were successful. They were doing amazing, but their kids were being raised by nannies and au pairs. They were always at work. They barely saw their family. And I was like, that is not the life for me. I writing on the wall. And the other big thing was I love to travel. I love to see the world, experience different cultures. It's something that my parents, when they were raising me, because they had freedom of time, schedule, location, we traveled, we would take month-long camping trips. They would pull me out of school. We would go to, Singapore, Asia, like we would go all over the place. And that was kind of my normal. So I didn't realize, oh, well, this is really special and I'm so lucky. I just thought that's how life was. And then, when I became an adult and I was working in film and I was working all the time, I realized, wait a minute, I need to ask them if I could take a week vacation, and I only get 1 week a year.
Wow.
It's really eye-opening for me, So that's a long story to what I was trying to emphasize. I decided, and I knew I needed to travel, and I didn't want to wait till I was 65 to do that. So I had this great retirement out of the film and television business when I was 30.
Good for you.
Yeah. So that's when I started, I transitioned into real estate, because even as a realtor, as an agent, you still have control over your time, your schedule, it's transactional and the money stops coming in when you stop working. So that's why the model didn't work for me either. And it's just a great culmination of things. Like, I discovered Rich Dad, Poor Dad right around that time. And then my mind was blown then. And you just have sparks in your life that once you come across it, your life is never the same after.
For sure.
So that was a spark, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant. After reading those books, I'm like, I need to do this. I just didn't quite know how. So it took me a little while from that point to getting to multifamily. But I think we're talking about assisted living. So
yeah, no, I mean, listen, I'm just grateful that you enjoy talking. Sometimes
I'm going to take it full circle back to assisted living, because as an adult, I realized that this is an amazing business. It does a great service to the community, and it's a great cash flowing way to invest in real estate and also have a running business. So that's how I got into that. And that happened prior to me jumping into multifamily. I had made that transition already, and that's why I was able to have the freedom to really just dive in full force when I discovered multifamily.
It's incredible how many people I talk to whose lives have been changed entirely from real estate, and specifically, commercial real estate, whether it's multifamily or storage or, assisted living. There's so many different aspects, but it's like we're stuck. A lot of people are stuck in jobs, and good for you that you were able to see that at, a relatively young age and see, okay, I have a family, I have, kids. I want to spend time with them. I want to travel like I did when I was younger, and just take the bull by the horns and just do it. Just jump in. Realize you are in control of your own destiny. Your life leads wherever you want it to lead. And, a lot of people get stuck in jobs and think they have to do it. and they have to, because they're stuck. I mean, they call it the golden handcuffs, right? You're working so you can get that promotion, so you can make a little bit more money, but enough, to inspire you to get the raise, but not enough to actually be able to be self-sufficient, right? Beyond that. But good for you. And it's awesome that your husband, like I said, decided to join you on this journey, and you're able to kind of build a business together. And that makes it all much, more fun.
I love it. It's like my dream come true. I know it's not for everybody. Like, not everybody can work with their spouse, but it really
Right.
works. We're both obsessed with business and growing our business, creating generational wealth for our future family and generations to come. So it's hard for us not to talk about work. I think I'm worse than he is, but yeah, it's just an obsession. And I think we're fortunate in that regard because we're each other's partner, and we don't have to schedule a Zoom or, fly across the country to meet up with our partner. We could just roll out of bed and, hey, talk about a deal or fun.
That's awesome.
Vacation is like a business vacation because we're talking about business there.
Oh yeah, the business write-off. Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So what's your kind of goal right now? I know you said you found, Texas as your market, but building assisted living facilities, that's a huge, huge market. And obviously it's something that, we've talked about briefly. And I know I've spoken with a lot of other people with the silver tsunami, the fact that there's such a huge demand, and there will be in the next, 10, 20 years for these residential assisted living facilities and different levels of them. I know there's, memory care, and there's all kinds of different levels within that. But what you personally, for your business, like, what is your goal? What do you want to achieve within the next, 5 years or so?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we were involved in residential assisted living, which is a smaller scale model where you convert these single family homes into assisted living communities.
Right.
And we're still expanding that. Like, we just launched and got licensed for a new one yesterday, and we have another one coming in a couple of months. So for the time being, we're continuing that. But a little while ago, the light bulb turned on where there is a way to kind of merge what we were doing with multifamily. We were doing syndication at the time, since we've created an investment fund.
Okay.
So our whole idea, it kind of came full circle, because we know there's such a growing need, and it's going to be exponential over the next decade. With the baby boomer generation, there's 12,000 people turning 65 every single day. And 7 out of 10 people are going to need assisted living in their lifetime. So it's just, the supply right now is not going to be able to keep up with the demand. So we're really excited that we're going to be offering investment opportunities in development deals and different senior living communities. So we hope to expand that, and I'm really big on kind of shedding light on the need, and also the ability to invest, and also, support best-in-class operators who are already on this path and already doing developments and might need capital to be able to get those projects done. So that's focal point. We want to really shed light on the need and just shout it off the rooftops, like how great of an investment this is, and how much of a need, and how you can do well by doing good,
Right.
So that's kind of what we're focused on. We're going to be growing this fund and subsequent funds for assisted living as well as multifamily. We're going to be doing those both in conjunction.
So, that seems like a business, and tell me more. I'm really curious about it, because it seems like a business that's hard to scale in terms of like the single families and converting them. Do you have, because when I think of assisted living, I'm thinking like, big, facilities, 50, 60, 100 beds, things like that. It's a little bit different when you do like, one single family, maybe have, 4 to 10 people or whatever in that. But it seems a difficult business to scale, which is, obviously my impression, but I'd love to hear from you. Like, what's your impression on it, and how to run that business so it's efficient?
Right. Well, let me clarify. Privately, we hold these small residential assisted living, which you're correct. They're 6 to 10 beds. Some places they could be 16, and they're primarily held in a single family home. So there are ways to scale that. But when I talk about supporting best-in-class operators and developers. I'm talking about larger, like 80 to 100 unit or more, as far as providing investment opportunities. So that's what we're focused on. The
Gotcha.
smaller ones we will hold privately as our own businesses in our private portfolio. But as far as investment opportunities, they're going to be on a larger scale.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. And obviously, you have a business. I mean, you have people that run the managers, et cetera. So it's not like you're doing the management.
Yeah, I definitely figured out like systems and processes. So I manage the managers and I check in and make sure that the operations are running smooth. But I have staff in place and managers, administrators who are running the businesses in the day to day.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool. That's I mean, it sounds like an amazing business, and the fact that you really understand the data of terms of how to know how many people are out there, what the need is, what the demand is, really makes it that it makes sense in terms of a business model. Now, their goals really align with what a lot of things that I've heard from a lot of other people, and it's just fascinating. Like I said, you're doing partners, like you said, you have a fund, and you're doing deals with other partners who are investing in multifamily and assisted living. Do you see yourself doing this for the long term? Like, is this like you found your passion in life type thing?
Yeah.
Okay. You never know. Like some people are like, yeah, this is great. And then maybe I have another side business or I have another thing that I'm really passionate about. And who knows where that's going to lead me.
So I have an entrepreneur mindset. So every time I see something, I turn it into a business, or how could it be a business? That's just how I am. So I have interest and passion in a lot of different things. But as far as a vehicle to, do good for the community, build wealth, and just scale, I love what we're doing. I love multifamily. I love senior assisted living, whether it's the big box facilities or, the residential assisted living. And I love the fund model and the scalability of that. So I'm happy. I mean, ask me in 5 years
Right.
and have a different answer. But for now, I love what we're doing. I'm passionate about it.
Yeah. And don't mind me asking, how old are your kids at this point?
13 going on 20 for sure.
I can relate to that. Yeah.
In that way since she was 4. And, and then I have a 15-year-old boy.
Oh, wow. Okay. Have they shown interest at all in what you guys are doing? The fact that, obviously they see like mom and dad are now business partners together and, working and doing this real estate stuff. Have they shown any interest in it?
They definitely have. Absolutely. But at this point, they're still trying to figure out like who they are and what they really want. So maybe it's a dose of, oh, mom and dad say you need to be an investor, and also like their own personal interests. But I see it like at least the entrepreneurial spirit. I see that. I mean, my daughter secretly was creating an online dropship e-commerce business with her friend when she was 11. And it blew me away because I didn't influence that or say, hey, you should do this. She was just doing it. And I caught her one day, she was on the computer. She goes, Mom, I'm doing a DocuSign. We're hiring somebody to work in our store. Can you come back later? I'm like, I shut the door. I'm like, what? It was just crazy. So she's definitely an entrepreneur. My son, I've started kind of teaching him underwriting. He has an interest in that. He's very analytical and great at math and very, very intelligent. So I definitely am exposing them to it because they're not going to get this education in school. And I wish I had a mentor or my parents were mentors, obviously, for the lifestyle and the freedom. And, it's something that I recognize later in life, but more specific instruction of like how to do it, what to do, start investing early, start getting that interest now, because it's going to make a huge impact in your future. So they definitely are getting that. And I definitely see that they like it. I even take them to conferences.
Oh.
I took them to a fun conference in Kauai last year. And of course, they loved that I pulled them out of school to go to
Hawaii for sure. Who wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
Forget the conference.
But they're awesome. They came to the conference and they were like sitting, alert, listening. They were taking copious notes. So I was super impressed with how they didn't come kicking and screaming. They actually had an interest and they were taking notes. And, there was this exercise where we were doing like a pitch off and they were super involved and listening and critiquing. And it was really, really fun. So I do try to take them to events as well, just so they can get exposed to other people in the space and not just mom and dad and, things on
Sure.
Zoom.
Yeah, and I'm sure, it's impressive for a teenager, like to see their parents like own this apartment building, like, wow, okay. But, you don't really think about it too much. Kids kind of, they're involved in doing their own stuff and hanging out with their friends and stuff like that, which is, obviously totally fine and normal. But I think for kids to have that exposure to realize that, yeah, they're not going to get this in school. And maybe your friends aren't, exposed in the same way. Don't, their parents may be working W-2s and don't have the freedom to just take trips around the world or wherever. That's a huge benefit. That's going to go a long way for them.
I think it will, because obviously it did with me. And it took me a while to recognize that might not be the normal life for everybody. Other people's parents, they might be at a 9 to 5, 5 days a week. They might have a regular babysitter, something like that. And they might not get pulled out to go travel the world. So the lifestyle that we've exposed our kids to now, and us being home all the time, I mean, our main office is at home and we work with each other. So whether they recognize it now or not, it's going to have some impact in their life one way or another once they become adults and they're in the workforce, So I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you provide that example and hopefully they will, make the right choices, obviously, and lead them in the right direction, because that's all parents really want, to see their kids happy and doing the right thing.
100%.
Well, Denise, time has flown by here as expected, but I'd love for, to transition what I call the final four. And these are 4 questions I ask all my guests. And first one for you is, what's the worst job that you ever had?
The worst job I ever had was in my parents' 7-Eleven store. I said they were entrepreneurs. They're in assisted living, but they also branched out and did other things. So they tried owning a 7-Eleven. And I was 16 at the time, and they hired me to be like a cashier clerk. They thought it would be good training for me. And I liked it, but I was really, really terrible at it. I had no idea how it happened, but every day my drawer was short cash. And it's not like I was stealing the money. I just wasn't, accounting for it properly throughout the day. So eventually they fired me because I was losing money for the business. So that was my worst job.
Wow. That's a good exposure though, as a kid. I mean, that's pretty cool to have to do that, but that's really weird. Second question, what's a book you've read that's given you a paradigm shift?
Well, I mentioned it earlier, and, it's not unusual. Like, there's thousands and thousands of people who have been affected by the book, but I'll start with Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Cash Flow Quadrant. Those really shifted my mindset, opening my eyes and making me really want to hotly pursue being an investor, because I thought of investing as freedom after I read those books. So that was that. And I'll say one more just because I've already mentioned that. So the book Who Not How was really amazing too, because I already had owned a business and I was already kind of doing the systems and processes and backing myself out and hiring other people. But that just kind of solidified that I was doing the right thing to scale and grow. And that was really the only way. So that really resonated with me as well.
Very cool. And obviously, Rich Dad, Poor Dad has been mentioned, 100 times on this show or more. But Who Not How is slowly becoming the second most popular book mentioned on this show by our guests, which is fascinating to me because it's one of my favorite books. It really changed me also and helped me grow. But it's just fascinating that so many people have been affected in such a profound way by the message in that book. So if you're a listener to this show and you've heard us talk about Who Not How and still haven't read it, go out today and get a copy. It will literally change your life. So Love that book. Appreciate you mentioning that. We'll make sure to put them in the show notes if anyone wants to check them out. Third question is, what's a skill or talent that you would like to learn?
I asked for a ukulele from my family for Christmas like 4 years ago. I really wanted to learn how to play ukulele, but my family will tell you, like, to this day, have not taken the ukulele out of the case. So it's not for lack of interest, because I really, really have it on my list. It's exciting to me to learn and I want to. I just haven't yet. So that's like in my future.
Okay. Today is can do it. Sign up for lessons.
Maybe I will.
Maybe take the word maybe out, and then we'll do it.
I will.
Okay. All right. Challenge accepted. Well, I'd love to see where this leads, but that's also a really unique kind of instrument, right? Why ukulele? I'm just out of curiosity.
I love Hawaii, and it's somewhere where I lived right out of college, and just the whole culture and music always has resonated with me. So that's
Cool.
the main reason.
Cool. Awesome. Very cool. Fourth and final question, Denise, what does success mean to you?
Freedom. Definitely freedom of time, schedule, location, and income. I really love ability to give back, whether that's creating generational wealth for my family and making it easier for future generations, or being able to give back to people in need who really can't really help themselves. So that really fills my heart, having the ability to do that.
Love that. I really resonate with that as well. So love that message. Awesome. Denise, this has been awesome. Really, really fun conversation. Like I said, the time did fly by. But where can our listeners find you or reach out to you if they want to?
You can find me on LinkedIn. You could just search my name, Denise O'Reilly, or you could go to our website and schedule a call. I'd love to chat with you.
All right. And what's your website? We'll make sure to put it in the show notes.
Sure. It's flowequitypartners.com.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time today. This was a fun conversation, and I really enjoyed talking to you.
It was really fun. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. And to our listeners, thank you all for joining once again all the way to the end. And remember, until next time, the best advice comes only when you ask. Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, a connection request, Yonah Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.